I was famous across 10 miles and 8 villages as the feistiest brat in the region. Climbing roofs, removing tiles, and lighting firecrackers in manure pits were my specialties. But ironically, I ended up marrying a husband who was fair-skinned, handsome, polite, and elegant. My parents-in-law were quiet, meek, and incapable of getting angry. Days passed by blandly until we visited some relatives as guests. Right in front of us, they ordered my mother-in-law around like a maid. I asked my husband, "Can I go crazy?" He replied,
If you can, please go crazy right now.
"Excellent." The arena finally belonged to me. Since childhood, I was known as the feistiest brat across 10 miles and 8 villages. Although I was a girl, I was more skilled at climbing roofs to remove tiles and lighting firecrackers in manure pits than the street thugs. My mother worried about me until her hair turned half gray. She said, "Nu, me ruat with the way you are. What boy would dare to marry you?" I wondered, do I absolutely have to have someone marry me? Will I die if no one marries me? Mom said I was too young to understand, but even when I grew up, I still didn't understand. Meeting my husband was completely accidental. That day, while jogging in the evening at the university, I defeated 2 thugs with my bare hands. Turning around, I saw a fair-skinned, handsome guy staring at me with shining eyes. He said,
You are truly special. Can I pursue you?
I asked him, "Are you afraid of dying?" He nodded and then shook his head, his fair face blushing slightly under the streetlights.
If I can die in your arms, I will happily endure it.
Oh my, quite a smooth talker. 3 years after dating, we successfully got married. He had a good temper, a nice figure, was faithful in love, and sincere in his dealings with people. His family conditions weren't bad either. A well-off background, kind parents, and the whole family was gentle and polite. My mother was very satisfied. On the wedding day, my mother held my hand and advised me, "Nu, me ruat, remember to control that hot temper of yours. Everyone in their family is gentle. Even if they banded together, they wouldn't be your match. You must not bully them." I asked, "What if they bully me?" My mother was decisive. "Nu, me ruat, beat them up." This sentence wasn't whispered quietly enough. The whole room heard it. The atmosphere was silent for a moment. My future in-laws looked at me in astonishment and then nodded furiously. My husband, Peter's face turned red with shyness. As for me, I thought, does this whole family suffer from masochism? After getting married, visiting relatives once made me understand what masochism. They were waiting for a savior. Early in the morning, Uncle Bob and Aunt Karen enthusiastically invited us into their home. Before we could even sit down, we heard Aunt Karen ordering my mother-in-law around. "Nu, back guy ca Mary, the groceries are bought and in the kitchen." "Nu, me chong, yes, I'll go cook right away." My mother-in-law turned and went straight into the kitchen. I felt extremely confused inside. Whose house was this anyway? Uncle Bob's house invites guests, so why does my mother-in-law have to cook? My husband stood up and said,
Mom, don't work so hard. Let's go out to eat.
Aunt Karen spoke nonchalantly. "Nu, back guy ca Peter, don't call her. Your mom likes to cook. Sarah, doesn't she like cooking?" My mother-in-law lowered her head, smiling forcefully. "Nu, me chong, that's right, I like cooking." She skillfully put on an apron and started bustling about in the kitchen. Meanwhile, Uncle Bob and Aunt Karen sat solemnly on the sofa, legs crossed, munching on melon seeds, spitting out the shells while eating and lecturing my husband. "Nu, back guy ca Peter, you're young and don't understand. You don't know that years ago your family was so poor you had no rice to eat. It was your uncle and I who brought 5 pounds of rice to you. Thanks to that, your family didn't starve to death. Your mother feels guilty in her heart, so she cooks voluntarily. If you stop her, isn't that a slap in your mother's face?" After speaking, Aunt Karen called out loudly again. "Nu, back guy ca, if you're free, come out and sweep the floor, it's too dirty." My mother-in-law replied from the kitchen and hurriedly ran out to sweep the floor. I lowered my voice and leaned close to my husband's ear to ask, "What is the significance of the 5 pounds of rice?" My husband answered with a bit of anger.
When we were poor as kids, We received help from their family.
So did you guys pay it back later?
We returned it. A month later, we returned 10 pounds.
Oh, returning double. I glanced at my father-in-law, who was bowing his head smoking, and then at Uncle Bob, who was laughing heartily. I thought to myself, I fear that what was returned was not just rice, but also the backbone of my husband's family. By 12 o'clock, the whole table of food was ready. Everyone sat at the table, but only my mother-in-law hadn't stepped out of the kitchen. New, back ca, don't mind her. She likes to clean up everything before eating. Let's eat first. My husband sat stiffly without moving his chopsticks, and my father-in-law lowered his head smiling awkwardly without moving his chopsticks either. Uncle Bob's face darkened immediately. Nom, back ca, what's wrong? You don't respect me? My father-in-law stuttered for a long time before managing to utter a sentence. Nom, bo chongai. I'm not hungry yet. I'll wait for Mary to come out and eat together. Aunt Karen rolled her eyes, her tone sour. New, back ca, sister-in-law, stop cleaning. If you don't come out, no one at this table will be able to eat. My mother-in-law was a bit flushed, hurriedly replying. New, mi chong, almost done, almost done. Peter, you guys eat first. Don't let Sarah go hungry. Aunt Karen raised her eyebrows at my husband. New, back ca, hear that? I can't invite your mother. If you still don't move your chopsticks, let your uncle starve with you. My husband's eyes were red, but he couldn't speak, his hand holding the chopsticks shaking until it turned white. I understood clearly now. To put it bluntly, a quiet father, a weak mother, Peter couldn't argue back, and they met some unreasonable bullies. Perhaps he had resisted for his mother before but gained nothing, and over time the situation became like this. I asked him, "Do you mind if I go crazy for a bit?" My husband replied,
If you can, please go crazy right now.
I immediately raised my hand and flipped the entire dining table. Eat, 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 only knowing how to eat. Did your mother die for you to be in such a hurry to eat a feast? I used a bit of skill. The whole table of food flew past others and splashed straight onto Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob froze instantly, covered miserably in food and soup. I turned my head, grabbed Aunt Karen by the collar, and slapped her hard twice. Left, right. Ordering people around like that early in the morning, whose landlord do you think you are? After satisfyingly slapping her, I dragged her and pushed her straight onto Uncle Bob. A chef at the market costs $2,000 an hour. My mother works an hour and a half. That's $3,000. Transfer the money now. Aunt Karen didn't expect a stubborn person like me in this crowd of weaklings. She took a while to arrange her words. New, back ca, Sarah, you're crazy. I'm calling the police. Peter, are you just going to stand there and watch your wife go crazy in my house like this? My husband took a step back, bowing his head with a look of grievance.
You know it too. I basically can't beat her in a fight.
I glanced at him. Where was the grievance? He was clearly holding back laughter until his face turned red. I bent down, snapped off a table leg, and brandished it in my hand. Call the police. Your injuries aren't minor, but I'll only be in for a few days. I'm very enthusiastic. I really like your family. Once I'm out of jail, I'll stop by to play every day. What? No money in your pockets? That's fine too. I looked around, assessing the furniture in the house. Taking furniture to offset the debt is fine too. Rest assured, I strike very accurately. I absolutely won't smash too excessively. Having said that, I swung the stick and smashed the sliding door. Use sliding door, 1,000. I went into the kitchen and smashed all the pots and pans. Old kitchenware package, 1,000. Finally, I aimed and threw a shot straight at the chandelier, which fell and smashed the tea table. Old lamp and 15-year-old tea table. I'll take a small loss, charging you 1,000. After smashing, I dusted off my hands, preparing to leave. My husband held my hand, saying calmly,
Your hand is red. Do we need compensation for medical expenses?
Good idea. I turned back and stomped on 2 more vases. Enough for medical expenses. Uncle Bob was so angry he couldn't speak. He really wanted to call the police, but seeing the way I smashed things so proficiently, even more professional than the street thugs, if he called the police and I sat in front of their door every day, How would they live? Nom, Baxie, get out. Uncle Bob's face was pale, struggling to hiss out a word. I dusted off my hands and called my mother-in-law to leave. All right, that's it for this time. Next time if you want to ask for cooking, remember to call me. I'll give you a 20% discount. Uncle Bob's family really doesn't know how to live. The house is so messy yet you dare to invite guests. There isn't even a place to step. My husband walked behind apologizing.
Sarah, you've worked hard.
Uncle Bob had just caught his breath and almost fainted from anger. She smashed my whole house and she feels she worked hard? Is she the one who worked the hardest? Uncle Bob trembled all over. Nom, Baxie, get the hell out. As long as I live one more day, don't you dare step foot in my house again. I stopped, turned my head, and stared at Uncle Bob without leaving. He reflexively took a step back. Nom, Baxie, you. What else do you want to do? I didn't answer, just stepped into his house, then out, then in, then out. After doing that a few times, I asked, "Why aren't you dead yet?" Old geezer, your life is tough indeed. From that day on, Uncle Bob's family was completely silent for half a year. My mother-in-law was visibly relieved, and my father-in-law smiled more. Only I was idle for half a year, even missing them a bit. Peter guiltily said to me,
My family is like this. To be blunt, it's a mud pit, and I dragged you into it. I'm truly sorry.
I was bored, and then I heard him say these words. I like days fighting with weird people like that the most. Put in someone else's shoes, it might be a lion's den, but for me, it's my stage to shine. In the blink of an eye, spring was approaching. The demolition plan that the government had been nurturing for 3 years was finally announced. The old 80 square meters house my mother-in-law lived in was right in the demolition zone. Based on the area, the compensation amounted to nearly 10 million yuan. The day after the demolition plan was announced, Uncle Bob's family, who hadn't been seen for a long time, suddenly appeared. This time their eldest son came, Paul. He was rumored to be a talented overseas student, and also the greatest pride of the third generation of the family. He had lived abroad for a long time, returning this time to get married, just in time for my mother-in-law's house to be in the demolition zone. Not coming over to extort a sum of money wouldn't fit their family style, would it? Paul brought along 2 people dressed smartly and politely, walking boldly into the house. Entering without a greeting, not even opening his mouth to speak, he just glanced around at the furniture in the house, then spoke coldly. Nam, Fuang Vien, I'll give you 3 days to move out of here. My parents-in-law stood frozen like statues. They guessed he came for money, but didn't expect him to want to take the whole house. My father-in-law asked, Nam, Bochong Paul, this is your uncle's house. Why are you forcing us to move out? Paul sneered contemptuously. Nam, Fuang Vien uncle, you're old so your mind is confused, right? This house was originally allocated to my family. It was you guys who shamelessly begged to get it. This house originally belongs to us, so the demolition compensation naturally belongs to us too. My mother-in-law was shaking with anger. Nu, Michong, what do you mean shamelessly begged? That year my family was allocated a 120 square meters house. It was your parents who said their family was large and insisted on swapping. Now you dare to flip the script and blame us? I held my forehead inside. My mother-in-law has improved, but not enough. Why try to use idioms at this time? Just rolling on the ground would be a guaranteed win. Paul clapped his hands once. Nam, Fuang Vien aunt, you admitted it too. So that year swapping for the new house made you guys have to live here. My family didn't take advantage of you. Then just swap the houses back to how they were. I watched with impatience. In this situation, arguing about these disputes here is meaningless, but for my parents-in-law, arguing was already their limit. At the critical moment, I nudged my husband lightly. Peter stepped up and grabbed Paul's hand.
Cousin, you can't do this. This is my house.
Paul instinctively wanted to shake off the hand. At that very moment, lightning fast, I grabbed my mother-in-law and gave her a push. Paul's hand, intending to shake off Peter, accidentally brushed lightly against my mother-in-law's shoulder. My mother-in-law froze for 2 seconds, suddenly seeming to have an epiphany, immediately fell to the ground screaming miserably. Nu, Michong, oh my god. I pinched my thigh hard, tears streaming down as I rushed to hug my mother-in-law. Mom, what's wrong? Don't scare me. What? Your leg is broken? I'm calling an ambulance right now. Good heavens, a grandson capable of doing such an inhumane thing to my old mother. Studying abroad, huh? Maybe studying how to be a turtle. While crying and cursing, I pulled out my phone and made several calls to both the police and the ambulance, then ordered Peter to hold Paul tight so he couldn't run. What about the two people with Paul? They had never seen such a scene. The moment my mother-in-law fell, those two hurriedly slipped away. Paul was left alone and was taken away by the police. Without our letter of forgiveness, he would have to sit in there for at least 5 days. I also used this time to arrange things for my mother-in-law. First, a full general health checkup package, then arranged a private hospital room for her. All costs paid by Paul. Haven't heard the saying? The fastest way to make a middle-class person bankrupt is to help an old lady across the street. If I didn't exploit this fully, I would fail my reputation from childhood. In the hospital room, after the nurse drew blood and left, my mother-in-law couldn't hold it in anymore, hugging the blanket, laughing out loud, laughing and then crying. Me Chung bullied by them all my life. Finally, I can bite back once. I smiled and asked, "Feel good?" Me Chung feels good. Wanna feel even better? Me Chung, yes. I cautiously reminded her. If we go all the way, I'm afraid it will negatively affect our reputation among the relatives. My mother-in-law sighed. Me Chung before, I always cared about other people's eyes, afraid people would say I was petty, afraid people would say I was ungrateful, so I let people take advantage time and time again. Sarah, now I've thought it through. So, what if people curse me? Being scolded a few times doesn't make me lose a piece of flesh. As long as my children benefit, that's what's real. My father-in-law also spoke up. Bo Chung, we were bullied all our lives. We can't let you and Peter suffer too. Be bold and do it. We'll bear the bad reputation. Leaving the hospital, Peter and I went straight to the police station. Paul, the golden grandchild in the eyes of the whole clan, for the first time in his life, had to go to the police station and was even detained for half a day. Seeing me, his anger immediately flared up. Phuong Vien Sarah, you shrew. You dared to set me up? Do you know this is slander? Wait until I get out. I'll teach you a lesson. Peter stood in front of me.
Watch your mouth.
I wasn't angry. I calmly pulled up a chair and sat down, quietly listening to him curse. Waiting until he was tired of cursing, I calmly raised my phone to take a few photos of Paul in his detained state and posted them to the family group chat. The whole family group exploded immediately. Paul, the most perfect child of another family in everyone's eyes, had to go to the police station and was even detained? Did he cause some big trouble? Less than 10 minutes later, Aunt Karen's phone called. As soon as I picked up, I heard a sky-rending scream. Back guy ca Sarah, you crazy woman. What did you do to my son? The curses were even more vulgar than her son's. Waiting for both sides to get tired, I slowly opened my mouth. Aunt Karen, that house is in my parents-in-law's name. Now that my mother-in-law is injured, I can totally sue Paul for illegal trespassing and assault. This sentence was just a bluff. My mother-in-law wasn't injured, and Paul hadn't really struck her. Illegal trespassing was far from applicable to him. But Aunt Karen wasn't there. She knew nothing, so bluffing temporarily was enough. Thinking about her son about to have a criminal record, Aunt Karen panicked visibly. She didn't even dare to curse, her tone changing distinctly. Back guy ca all right, we don't need that house anymore. Hurry up and release my son. After all, we're family, no need to make it so tense, don't you think? When planning to steal the house, family didn't matter. Now afraid of a criminal record, she clings to family talk. In terms of shamelessness, I have a long way to go to catch up with their family. Hearing his mother say that, Paul screamed anxiously through the phone. Phuong Vien mom, don't listen to her. That house gets 10 million yuan in compensation after demolition. We must get it. I looked at him smiling and said, Fine then, you just stay here for a few more days. Let's see if I can sue you for illegal trespassing. Paul's face turned pale. He knew he didn't commit that crime, but being detained for a few days at the police station wasn't something he was willing to do. On the other end of the line, Aunt Karen was like a mother hen whose tail had been stepped on, pleading frantically. "No, back ca, don't. Sarah, whatever you want, we'll listen. Your cousin has never been in a place like this. Hurry and get him out." If you had said that earlier, it would have saved so much trouble. I told Peter to take out the red book, property deed. Swapping houses back isn't impossible, but your house isn't in the demolition zone, so calculate it and we're taking a big loss. Add another 3 million yuan and we'll swap. Paul didn't expect me to say that. If it were him, he definitely would never swap houses. His first reaction was to feel there was some conspiracy. I shrugged. The house isn't mine. What's strange about me taking a bit of money? 3 million in compensation I want cash, must be transferred separately to my account. Paul's face immediately lit up. Nam, Fuang Vien taking your in-laws' house to exchange for money into your own pocket, and I thought you were so noble. Sarah, you destroyed our house just to gain your in-laws' trust, right? Speaking of exploitation, who is as vicious as you? He turned to look at Peter. Nam, Fuang Vien calculating clearly like that with your parents, do you agree? Peter lowered his head, looking like an obedient lamb.
I listen to my wife for everything.
Paul spat out a sentence in contempt. Nam, Fuang Vien truly just like your father, hit 3 times and can't even produce a fart. I'm too lazy to argue with him. Want to swap then swap, if not then get lost. If I didn't need money urgently, I wouldn't stoop this low. Wait until the demolition compensation hits the account. I have plenty of ways to get money out. Paul nodded. Nam, Fuang Vien swap, why not swap? Wait until we receive the money, and your parents-in-law only have that old house. I want to see how you explain it to them. After signing the forgiveness letter, Paul didn't forget to remind me repeatedly. Nam, Fuang Vien, remember to keep your word. Once the money hits the account, we must do the transfer procedures immediately. I nodded. 3 million a month, I say it, I do it. Paul turned and walked away without looking back. Just reaching the door, a girl wearing a white coat, with a delicate and gentle face, walked up to welcome him. He showed clear annoyance, said a few perfunctory words, and then turned his back and walked away, leaving the girl standing there sadly. I found it strange, turned and asked Peter. Do you know that girl?
That's Paul's fiancée, Emily. He returned to the country this time to get married. Initially, he didn't want to return, but hearing the news about the demolition, he reluctantly booked a flight back.
I listened with wide eyes. Not liking her but still marrying, what is it for exactly?
That girl's family is well off. Before, he had to climb very high to reach her. But since the demolition news came, seeing he couldn't get any profit, he's not interested anymore.
We left the police station and drove to the hospital. Just turning the corner, I saw Paul standing at the intersection, embracing a girl with curly hair and a hot body, kissing passionately. I was stunned. What now? Hard to return to the country once. His schedule is really packed. But that curly-haired girl looked familiar. I secretly took a few photos and sent them to my best friend. Hey girl, do you know this girl? My friend replied immediately. New, then that's Penny from the marketing department of my company. You met her once. A thought suddenly occurred to me, so I sent Paul's photo next. What about this guy? New, then his name is Paul. This guy is special, I remember now. He works as a contract employee for ground services at the airport. Why? You know him? In my head, only 3 words, oh my God, repeated continuously. Excellent student, studying abroad, living abroad for years, the most successful person in the Paul family generation, all were fabricated by him. I was so surprised I almost couldn't swallow this melon, hurriedly texted my friend to send all his work information over, then didn't forget to instruct. In the next month, help me watch the financial movements of these two. Aunt Karen's family had average economic conditions. Adding a son studying abroad, constantly draining money, not much was left of the house assets. Expecting them to gather 3 million in a month was truly a fantasy. Less than 3 days later, the family group saw Uncle Bob aggressively borrowing money everywhere. Nam, back ca, Tin Nan, my son, has a super profitable project, sharing only with close relatives. Anyone wanting to invest, contact urgently, limited quantity. Don't find me for under 100,000. The amount is too small and not suitable. Please understand. The scam was extremely clumsy, but thanks to the label of a talented overseas student, people still believed it blindly. Before long, more than a dozen people eagerly spoke up wanting to follow Paul to make a fortune. I didn't bother to warn them, muted the family group, and patiently waited for news from my friend. 10 days later, my friend texted me. New ban, then Paul has no suspicious movements, but Penny just withdrew $3 million in cash that was just refunded. Something isn't right. The relatives responded so enthusiastically. Why couldn't they gather a single cent? If not, why did he tell his lover to risk withdrawing company funds, and the amount was exactly the number I demanded? Suppressing the suspicion in my heart, I texted back to my friend. Don't rush to demand the money. I'm behind covering for you. Just keep watching the show. New ban, then why do we still have to be polite? Remember to tell me the details. Don't let me miss this drama. No problem. Less than half an hour later, Paul frantically called. Nam, Phuong Vien, the money is gathered. Come do the procedures immediately. I took my in-laws to the land management office. First I saw with my own eyes him transfer $3 million into my account, with the note, gift. Only then did I signal my father-in-law to sign the transfer papers. My mother-in-law stood beside asking me anxiously. New, Mi Chong, Sarah, are you sure this big house will also be demolished? Of course it's true. This one has a large area, so when demolished, the compensation will be even more. New, Mi Chong, then why did Paul pay you extra money? Mom, don't worry, that's money he's paying back a debt to me from before, nothing to do with the house. These sentences all fell into Paul's ears. He signed his name while turning his head to mock me. Nam, Phuong Vien, idiot. I smiled looking at him. Don't be hasty, it's too early to say who the idiot is. After transferring the house, Paul held his head high and walked arrogantly out the door. There was still more than a month until the demolition compensation payout day, but the very next day I saw him driving a super sports car. I understood. The company funds his girlfriend withdrew were transferred to my account, while the money from the relatives group was used to buy the supercar. A vicious cycle like that. Paul didn't spend a dime, but was already enjoying the luxurious life of a rich man. In the car sat a beautiful girl, neither Penny nor his fiancé. I smiled with delight, took a few photos, and sent them immediately to my friend. On the other end, my friend exclaimed. New ban, then oh my, Paul is truly trash. Penny risked breaking the law for him to withdraw company funds, yet he turned his back and dumped her immediately. Poor Penny, although she still knows nothing, every day going to work her face is pale with terror. I sighed helplessly. Truly blinded by love. A man says a few sweet words and she dares to do reckless things. Wait until the demolition compensation hits the account. You send these photos straight to Penny for her to see. New ban, then okay, I like this game. After the excitement, my friend hesitated and said. New ban, then, but you went in such a big circle. Calculating it out, you still took a loss. Demolition compensation of 10 million yuan exchanged for an old 120 square meters house with a market value of less than 3 million. You lost heavily. I listened and laughed heartily. Those who think I suffered a loss definitely haven't seen the demolition plan. This demolition is to build a high-speed train station. The house I swapped for is only separated from the high-speed train station by a small road. It will definitely be demolished too, just not in the same batch. Hearing my explanation, my friend was silent for a moment, then exclaimed. New ban, then your head is truly top-notch. Who said you only know how to use force? Your brain is even more formidable than your strength. More than a month later, amidst the weary waiting of Paul's family, the demolition compensation was finally transferred. Paul began publicly showing off his supercar in the family group. Nam, Phuong Vien, follow me to invest, and you'll definitely get rich. Look, I got the car. Someone urged. Nam, Ho Hung, driving a supercar already. When are you distributing the money back here? Paul replied, annoyed. Nam, Phuong Vien, what's the rush? Everyone has only invested for a few days. My family just received the demolition compensation. Are you afraid I'll swallow your money? As soon as this sentence was spoken, the whole family group fell silent. That 10 million yuan was a huge figure. Compared to this amount, the few 100,000 they invested was nothing but a grain of sand in the ocean. Nam, ho hang, no rush, no rush. The relative group wasn't in a rush, but someone was very anxious. Penny was about to go crazy. Her company's legal department had warned her straight to her face. Nam, Nan suit song tai counting from when you withdrew the public funds until repayment. If it exceeds 3 months, you could be sentenced to prison. Currently, you only have 5 days left. Right after that, my best friend delivered the fatal blow with images. New, Ban, then is this your boyfriend? Penny cried like rain, nodding furiously. New, Tiu Fuang, that's right. He was the one who told me to withdraw the money. My friend shook her head regretfully. New, Ban, then unfortunately, his current girlfriend isn't you. If you don't want to go to jail, you have to try hard, Penny. Penny saw the intimate photo of the couple, her whole body turning to stone. Calculating the time, it turned out that right after she withdrew the money, Paul had hooked up with someone else. No, it's also possible that while still dating her, Paul was already two-timing. He told her to withdraw public funds simply to turn her into a sacrificial pawn, a scapegoat. Thinking everything through, plus being unable to contact Paul, Penny immediately flew into a rage. That night, Penny stormed straight to Paul's temporary rental house. New, Tiu Fuang scum, pay the money back now. Or else I'll put my life on the line with you. Initially, Paul didn't want to pay attention to her. Dragging it out a few more days wouldn't kill anyone. Why the rush? But Penny had gone crazy, standing right in front of the door screaming ear-piercingly, attracting neighbors around to poke their heads out to watch. New, Tiu Fuang Paul. I give you 3 minutes. If you don't come out, I will tell the whole truth about your overseas student status to the whole world. By then, no one will live in peace. Hearing this, Paul rushed out as fast as he could. Nam, Fuang Vien, stop screaming. Isn't it just 3 million? I'll pay right now. Penny laughed coldly. New, Tiu Fuang, not 3 million, but 6 million. Paul's eyes bulged as if they wanted to fall out. Nam, Fuang Vien, are you crazy? Borrow 3, pay 6. Do you think I'm a loan shark? Penny didn't back down, retorting immediately. New, Tiu Fuang, do you think public funds are easy to take? The company said if Double isn't compensated, they won't withdraw the lawsuit. 3 million in public funds is enough for both of us to sit in jail for 5 years. Want money or want freedom, you choose. If you dare run, I will confess everything. By then, from a talented overseas student, you'll become a wanted criminal. Paul hesitated. He could pay 3 million, but 6 million was nearly losing more than half of the demolition compensation. The money hadn't even warmed his hands before flying away. But if he didn't pay, he would have to go to jail. Wait until he got out of jail after 5 years. Who would respect him anymore? By then, how much of the demolition compensation would be left? Aunt Karen heard the noise and came out to ask. New, back guy ca niece, why are you screaming so loudly? My family has an overseas student. What problem could there be? Penny saw Paul still hesitating, so she raised her voice higher. New, Tiu Fuang, you don't know yet? Paul basically never. Paul screamed, cutting her off. Nam, Fuang Vien, enough. I'll pay. Penny won this round, he accepted it, but he couldn't lose both money and face. He leaned close to her face, lowering his voice to warn Penny. Nam, Fuang Vien, about me studying abroad, you better keep your mouth shut. Penny looked at him with contempt. She didn't have the energy to expose those dirty tricks. After experiencing being cheated on and used, Penny now just wanted to cut all ties with Paul, get the money, and go their separate ways. Paul gritted his teeth, resentfully transferring the money to Penny. Aunt Karen still understood nothing, standing aside asking. New, back guy ca, say something, niece? What's wrong with my Paul being abroad? Penny saw the notification of money arriving in her account, smirked, and replied. New, Tiu Fuang, nothing, it's just that abroad he's just as stupid as he is here. Saying that, Penny turned and walked away. New, Tiu Fuang scum, step aside and live your life. Right on the deadline, Penny transferred exactly $3 million back to the company, no more, no less. Then she submitted her resignation, booked a flight to move to another city, and completely disappeared without a trace. My friend took a deep breath and exclaimed, "New, Ban, then who says girls in love are all stupid? She's really smart." She calculated very carefully that Paul wouldn't dare go to the company to check the repayment details, using the information gap to bite back a large chunk from that scum. In my heart, I silently gave a thumbs up. Penny was truly extremely clever. After exclaiming, I immediately posted all information about Paul's job at the airport to the family group. The family group exploded immediately, especially those who had previously invested believing in Paul's talented overseas student label. Their reaction was even more fierce. Ho hung what? Paul works as ground staff at the airport and is even an external contract employee? Does working as ground staff require such high qualifications now? Ho hung looked closely at the resume. What overseas student? Just a college graduate. Don't know how many lies he's spun over the years to raise his own value. Can't just be a decent college graduate? Had to fake being an overseas student. Ho hung put the study abroad thing aside. Paul, pay back the money. Paul, pay money. Paul, pay money. The news in the family group quickly reached the ears of Uncle Bob and Aunt Karen. They didn't care about the money. After all, the money had flowed into their pockets before. Taking it out now would just be the same. What shocked them was the story of Paul faking being an overseas student. That night, Paul's house was brightly lit, Uncle Bob's eyes red with anger. Say it one more time. Is your studying abroad real or not? All his life, he was only proud of having a son studying abroad. For years he looked down on this person, despised that person, acting high and mighty in front of relatives and friends. Wasn't it because of that talented son? Yet now his greatest pride was a lie? Couldn't believe it, even more unacceptable. Paul knelt on the floor, his face red as a ripe GAC fruit. Phuong Vien, Dad, you have to think, what good university would accept me? Do you think foreign universities are all stupid? Uncle Bob screamed in anger. So you lied to me. Phuong Vien, it's not entirely my fault. That year you said if I made you lose face you'd kick me out of the house. If I didn't invent another identity, how could Mom and Dad send me living expenses? This is something both sides accepted. Dad can't blame it all on me. A stream of shameless logic poured out. Uncle Bob was so angry his eyes rolled back, and he fainted on the spot. The next day, a crowd pulled up to the hospital, not to visit the sick, but to demand money, demand back the money Paul tricked them out of. Aunt Karen was so angry she cursed loudly in the hospital room. A bunch of godforsaken people who only see money. Can you see my family member is sick? Not even bringing gifts to visit, opening your mouths just to demand money. Get lost. The people demanding money retorted immediately. Ho hung, who exactly are the ones who only see money? We just want to get back the money we were scammed out of. Compared to your family scamming money, we still have plenty of conscience. Pay up quickly. Pay, and we're still family, if not we'll call the police. Aunt Karen was still immersed in the pride of becoming a demolition household. She didn't care about this petty cash. She immediately urged Paul. Hurry up and pay them, let them get out of my sight. Paul's body stiffened. The $10 million demolition compensation, he had paid Penny $6 million. The $2 million gathered from the relative group had been spent on the luxury car and wooing girls. If he paid back the $2 million to the relatives now, the remaining compensation would be a mere $2 million. Only $2 million? Couldn't even buy the old dilapidated house from before. Now the old house was demolished, the new house hadn't been bought. Would his whole family have to rent a house living on this $2 million? The crowd continued to urge. Ho hung, hurry and pay. Don't say you spent it all. Aunt Karen flew into a rage. You bunch of poor wretches. My family is a demolition household. Money doesn't run out easily. Paul, pay them quickly. Paul gritted his teeth, his hands stiff as he paid back each family bit by bit. After paying everything, he looked at the account balance with only $2 million left. not knowing how to open his mouth to his parents. Aunt Karen patted and comforted Uncle Bob. "New, back guy CA there, don't be angry anymore. What's done is done, we won't pursue Paul anymore. After all, now the family still has money, Paul's partner also has a well-off background. Wait until the wedding is organized, our family will still be considered a prestigious family among relatives. You hurry and recover well, still have to arrange the marriage for Paul." Paul's eyes lit up immediately. Right, he still had his childhood sweetheart fiancée. Using this $2 million plus half from his fiancée's family, he could totally buy a new house. As for where his parents would live, they were old. Living anywhere was the same. Paul drove the supercar, bringing some gifts enthusiastically to his fiancée's house. Before he could step inside, he was kicked out by her family, both person and gifts thrown out. Bo vio tuong lai, you think my family is easy to bully? Having an engagement with my daughter, yet chasing butterflies outside. Haven't been back in the country half a year, and hooked up with 3 other girls. The wedding is cancelled. If you dare appear in front of my daughter again, I'll make you leave here on a stretcher. Cursing him out wasn't enough to satisfy their anger. The fiancé's family also posted all photos of Paul hooking up with other girls online. Not stopping there, they paid for ads to spread the post wider. The news spread online unbelievably fast. In less than 3 days, the story of Paul two-timing multiple people was rampant everywhere. Some gossip lovers added the story of him faking being an overseas student, and immediately the story became even hotter. Just then, Paul's parents found out. Coincidentally, the very day Uncle Bob was discharged, just stepping out of the hospital, a kind person sent them the article link. Uncle Bob and his wife sat down right at the hospital gate, reading the whole article until their faces turned purple with rage, smoke fuming. Reading finished, and before they could compose themselves, another kind person reminded them. Nuoik, when your son lies time and time again. Best to check the demolition compensation to see how much he spent. I don't believe a guy like him hasn't spent a dime. This reminder sent a chill down Uncle Bob and his wife's spines. They hurriedly logged into the bank account on their phone. They discovered a number that made their hearts shatter. 2 million. Correct, only 2 million left, not enough to buy a decent house. Just discharged, Uncle Bob stumbled a few steps and collapsed on the spot again. This faint was more serious than the last. Uncle Bob was taken straight to the ICU. Aunt Karen panicked and immediately called Paul. New, back guy CA, come back immediately. Your dad isn't going to make it. Paul was outside and froze hearing that. Phuong Vien into ICU? How much will the treatment cost? Thinking for a while, he gritted his teeth and withdrew all the remaining 2 million, driving straight out of the city. By the time Aunt Karen couldn't contact Paul and hurriedly checked the account balance, she stood dead still. Not a cent left, now she couldn't even pay the hospital fees. That night, Aunt Karen ran straight to my house, screaming and rolling around, demanding my in-laws return the house to her. True to her style, opening her mouth not to borrow money, but to demand everything back. I brought out a stick, smiling politely, and asked, "Walking out yourself or letting me call 120 to carry you out?" A week later I heard the next news. Aunt Karen had used all their remaining savings to pay Uncle Bob's hospital fees. At the same time, after 7 days of pursuit, the police finally caught Paul. The person who reported him to the police was Aunt Karen. In misfortune there was luck. Paul had squandered part of the money, but still had over 1 million left, plus the supercar sold as a used car, gathering a sum of money. This money was all held by Aunt Karen. Part was used to treat Uncle Bob, part to buy a small house to stabilize their lives. As for Paul, after getting out of jail, he became completely unemployed, mooching off his parents, loitering everywhere. He was officially blacklisted by the relative group. A year later, the city's Phase 2 demolition plan was announced. The big house I swapped for last year was compensated nearly 15 million. I don't know Aunt Karen's mood when hearing this news, only knowing that she hasn't dared to appear in front of me for a very long time. The story is over.